Good evening, everyone. I think we are ready to start this session. Hi, Cate. My name is Cate. We met yesterday for the opening of the EASA GA Season Opener 2022, and I'm here this evening with Yngvi for the Learning from Accidents. Yngvi?
Yes, hello. My name is Yngvi. I'm a Domain Safety Risk Manager here at EASA. I hope we will be able to provide some information on how we learn from accidents through the data we get.
Exactly. So what happened is I work for GAMA, the General Aviation Manufacturer Association, and this week I am in Cologne in EASA's office, and we've decided with Yngvi to do a session where we will talk a little bit more about data in Europe because it is a big subject. So I found the expert, and now we'll just pick Yngvi's brain and know everything about data at the end of this hour. That's the goal. We have a few questions, so we'll start with understanding a little bit more about where those data come from, how do we gather them, what do we do with them, and then what's the goal of manipulating those data to understand GA and learning from the accidents that we discover from those data. And then we'll go a little bit further with what's next in the future. So we also have John Franklin, who is behind the screens to monitor the questions. We have a live chat on YouTube, but mainly we also have the Slido on the WebEx where you can ask all your questions. Here on the slide, you can see all the subjects we will go through. So I will start with explaining you a little bit about the European General Aviation Survey that GAMA is in charge of with IAOPA. Big cheer to Michael Erb, who was a speaker yesterday for the introduction of the GA season opener. So the European General Aviation Survey is an annual survey that we get where we gather data from aircraft owners, pilots, aero clubs, anyone who flies. We have questions for them. If you go on, and also, no, very important, we are doing the survey with the support of our Friedrichshafen, and we will be showing a little bit more about the reports that we have and the people who participated, because a lot of people who participate give us comments, and so we're trying to get those comments and understand them here with the work we do with EASA. So if you go on the next slides, you will see first my email address. So cbrinkart@gamma.aero, where you can ask all the questions you can dream of. I will try to respond to everyone. You have all the subjects that we are covering in the survey, but also we have every year we will publish a report about that survey and all the data that we have from the survey. And also you can, right now, if you are part of the community, go on generalaviation.eu and find the 2022 survey to participate to it. It will take an average of 15 minutes. Maybe if you're, maybe Yngvi would do it in 10, but I would give 15 minutes to to the normal average person. I would do it in 15 minutes, definitely. So yeah, so that's a big part of the data that we gather and that we work with at EASA. So
take your logbook with you.
Exactly. Take your logbook, take all the info that you have, and if you own the plane, take the logbook of your plane. You need all those info. And Yngvi, let's go a little bit further on what are the next steps? How else do you gather data? Because that's not all the data we have. We have more.
Yeah, we do have more. So what we do, what I wanted to start with is to actually tell you a little bit about the occurrence reporting procedure and how we do that. As you can see here, good judgment comes from experience, and experience, judgment sometimes.
Yep. It happened
and,
to all of us.
And occurrence reporting is extremely important for us, for authorities to have some sort of grasp of what's happening. Not to blame anybody. This is just culture that works in this. Now we have 15 years almost of experience, more than that, 17 years of experience with occurrence reporting. And you don't need to be afraid with that. It will never be used against you. Regulation is very clear on that. It's not to be used against anybody.
Which is so important to
absolutely,
mention.
Absolutely, it's of immense importance. I could tell you, well, if I would be still flying, I would definitely have some occurrences in the database, but I'm not flying anymore, so they're not there. I was flying before the system was initiated. So, but this is immensely important, because this gives us insight in how you are thinking. It gives us insight if you provide us with some narrative what actually happened. That gives us ideas and enables us to analyze things in the bigger context, to identify safety issues and stuff like that. That we will do. But first, I wanted to show you is when you report occurrences, that's first to find the website, and the website is aviationreporting.eu. And under the report on occurrence, in the title there, you can you find a link to report.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
So before getting to the website and everything, so who should do that?
Everybody.
Because I'm a pilot, and I have to
Yeah.
confess I have never done a report, and this is why this session is so important, because I think it's a little bit of like lack of knowledge. Like we should do it, and why are we doing this, and at what moment is it necessary to do it? And like we do not like I don't think we have to wait for an accident to happen,
no,
or like something bad. It could also be
anything safety related that you see that is happening. You should report it. And
so airspace infringement.
Absolutely. So pilots should report. Ground workers, ground handling workers, for example, air traffic controllers. Every interested party should report.
But it's so important to mention that it is not an attack. Like you're not
Absolutely
like you're not judging. You're not like
no.
jeopardizing your license, or no, you're just giving that data so that we can improve afterwards. But I think a lot of people, and no, I'm not thinking, I know a lot of people are just afraid of the impact that a report could have on their license or on anything that they're passionate about.
All authorities understand, or should understand, that a report, or when somebody reports, the regulations are very clear. You cannot use it against them. You provide personal information in terms of, for example, if you just say aircraft landed in a ditch, if you would get sometimes.
I think you'll have an automatic report for that one.
You would definitely want to get or expect a phone call from AIB or CAA, or say, hey, what the heck happened?
Local police.
But sometimes we get initial notifications, even from AIBs like that, and we scratch our head and say, okay, what do we do with this?
Okay.
But we need, what happened, when it happened, and if you know why it happened. And if you can put that into a narrative, we can code it into our database, and it will be useful for our analysis.
So those data are like the route to understand better.
Absolutely.
Like, let's understand the reason why the safety was jeopardized at that specific moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go back into that a little bit later.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So that's the initial web page, report an occurrence, and you find that, and then you hit this one. So you can report on your personal behalf, or you can report on behalf of an organization.
Okay, so as an aero club, or like as a company.
Yeah, that's a company, or an agent's company. And then you select the state that is supposed to receive, so your local authority, basically. You can also select the EASA, so it goes directly here.
Yeah.
But for example, if there's some whistleblowing or something like that, you could do that. You don't want your local authority to have it. No, that's up to you. But you definitely can report that. And you select your authority. And when that's done, you get this page here. So you can both report offline and online. Offline means that you download a PDF, which I actually have. Sorry.
Okay.
I hope you see it. Comes on.
I don't
it's not
think
coming.
so.
Oh, no.
But so you have a form.
Yeah, we have a form,
Okay.
which is quite a simple quote for individual.
And you fill it in.
You fill it in, and there are drop-down lists, and so it's fairly easy to do. And a box for a narrative, and a headline. And when you're done, you can upload it again to the portal.
Okay.
And if you want to do it online, you probably have to log in. Yeah.
Yeah, you can also like log in and do it like in the more
online.
like with more details. I have one question. So what if you report to a national authority?
Yeah.
How does EASA get that information? Will it go up to EASA afterwards?
Yeah, we will have access to it through the European Central Repository. I'll show you a flow diagram a little bit later after we come through this.
Okay.
So yeah, here's
And
the
again,
offline
this
one.
is just
This is the online
data information.
Yeah, as
Not
pure
this
data.
is not like it is not how do you say it? Like you won't get blamed for a report that you sent.
No.
It's very important to highlight
Yeah.
that. Okay.
The regulation is clear that if somebody is to be blamed, or if there's sanctions or something to happen to
Following a report.
yeah, that will be under gross negligence
Okay.
part of it, and that's quite nicely
And
defined as well.
Also, as a pilot, I do not want people to think that I have like 100 reports that I should have done because of my flying.
No.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah,
Please.
for sure. I'm pretty sure we've all done some stupid stuff while we're flying. At least I have.
That's how you learn.
Yeah.
That is how you learn.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here on the portal as well, you can access the taxonomy browser up in the right corner, and there you can see the structure of the data that or the structure of the database.
Yeah.
Basically.
How it's
categorized.
yeah.
And if you have time for that.
Isn't that's interesting?
Yeah. And at the bottom, you can see also the protection of personal data.
Okay.
Clause on that, on how that's done, and then we'll also have more information on the benefits of reporting. So by all means, read this information, go on the website, try it out, and see what happens. Now, after you click the offline button, you see this picture here. Now they recently updated the PDF, so do not use old PDF to upload it. You have to download then a new copy. So because it contains the newest taxonomy, and then it fits everything into the database seamlessly.
Oh yeah, we know how a different, like one difference in a report can just change the whole data, or even like make them unusable.
It can be a real pain
in the neck.
So download and then upload button next to it. And this is the snapshot of the online version.
So that's if you have registered on the website.
Yes.
You've registered on the website and you have a profile and then you can fill it in there. Okay.
As if I've been working in current reporting since 2015.
Okay.
And I've never heard of a pilot being punished for this, for a report.
Yeah.
So
well, that's good to. Yeah. I think that's very good.
Rules are different between European countries, but at least where I come from, Iceland, that's not the case, and I haven't heard of any such incident. If you hear of any, please let us know, because we have to talk to the authority. It's not supposed how to be done.
There's a sense to protect the user who will.
Yeah.
How many reports do you get on average?
So the European Central Repository has now what, 2.3 million occurrences.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's quite decent number. A lot come from airlines.
Okay.
But so you could report directly on the portal, or you can report through your flight club. Flight Club sends the report without your name and all that.
Yeah, it's true.
So I mean, there are many ways of doing
It's
this.
true. ATOs and DTOs usually they have
Yeah.
like an anonymous box
Yeah.
where I think it's a mandatory in at least in an ATO.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
DTO I don't know. I must confess.
Yeah.
But I know you can anonymously put a form and then say everything. And then I think the safety manager of the ATO will report to the national administration, and then the national administration will report to EASA, and
Yeah.
that's where we can gather all those data from
Exactly.
European
Yeah.
GA users.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
The next question. Now we know a little bit more how we gathered those data with the report, with the European General Aviation Survey. So now why do we gather those data? We touched it a little bit earlier, but why do we gather those data here? What's the point of it?
the point of it is to identify safety issues. Well, there are several reasons, actually four, we could say.
Let's go through the four of them.
Here's the one that we has to do with basically the flow of the data and the regulation requirements. So EASA collects the data from EASA collects the data from 906, Regulation 996/2010, which is the equivalent of Annex 13, the accident investigation report. The occurrence reports that go to the national authorities and then into the central report stream goes through the 376. And you can see on the slide, pilots and other interested party report through the national into the national database, and then there's a duplication and consolidation check when it goes into the CR.
I think we have to mention that you can have explanation about all those beautiful regulation full of numbers on the EASA website.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's pretty much what we explain with like how it comes to EASA and AAS, and then how the reports is getting like together in the ECR.
Till today, EASA is mainly focused on accidents and serious incidents, analyze them and to find out safety issues. And you can see in our annual safety review, that's how the data is displayed.
Okay.
But incidents will be coming more and more prominent as we go into the data. So to answer the question, the first why we do this is to reveal accident incidence rate.
Okay.
You can see here on the graph. This is a graph from last year. Yeah. And in 2020, we had quite a lot of jump according to the data we had at the time. So, and we used the data from that got from you guys, GAMA, and
hard work.
That's hard work. And the initial, so it's always a competition of time pushing the annual safety review out.
Yeah.
So we had to use the initial figures, which showed quite a high rate in non-fatal accidents, so close to 5 per 100,000 flights. But when the final figures came out, they were actually 4.2. So, so that's but this is how data is. We like you saw in the initial slide of this part of our presentation here or discussion, saw this little joke with normal distribution and paranormal distribution.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is how the data is fluent. It is changing and it's sort of a live animal. And if it's poor in quality, it's very hard to substantiate
to improve the safety afterwards. And also, I think it's important to mention what the viewers can see on the screen. So in the slide, that graphic is you can find it on the EPAS. And
the annual safety review.
Yeah, so both of them you can find all those data, and the annual safety review and the EPAS, both on the EASA website, where you can just type those two acronyms and find them pretty easily. And you should do it. You should go through them and have a look at those, at what we can extract from the data. Because what's important is we will improve safety because someone there shared their data and EASA analyzed it, and we get that out.
What was interesting with 2020 now, and that's in the middle of COVID crisis, is that we saw a reduction in flights, but we didn't see reduction in accidents, and that made us scratch our head quite a lot, and try to figure out what we are actually looking at, and that is difficult because accident investigations, they take a long time. They take up to 3 years.
Yeah.
And the last thing that are put into the occurrence reports and then in the database are the human factors.
Yeah.
This is a clear sign of human factors intervening.
So it could be, so you mean people flew less?
Flew less with, they were not as current, but we had the same accidents and in similar quantity.
Okay.
So
that's a fact that we have because of the data. Okay. Very interesting.
So another answer to the question is to identify safety issues. You can see here the data portfolio we publish also in the annual safety review. This shows us a list of key risk areas on top, and then the safety issues that are vertical. So on top of that, on the top of this list is the engine system reliability, which also made us scratch our head. But in reality, even though there's quite a lot of engine failures, they are not
the main cause.
No, not the main cause, but also not causing that many fatalities, unless there are human factors that are involved. But so when we then took this to our next step, so this is one of the steps we do is the data portfolio, just pure data, and then we go for the next step, and that is to monitor the safety issues, and we take the data portfolio, every safety issue, and we rescore it in-house with experts using a specific process we've developed. And that actually changed a lot the portfolio. For example, on this slide here, you can see at the bottom is parachute operations. However, after we've scored it with adding on top of it the expert opinions, it's on top.
Oh, so the people who are going through that whole analysis of the data are actually making those data speak a better language, so we know the source. Okay.
Because the data in the occurrence report doesn't necessarily speak. Well, it speaks just in a certain way. Yeah. But you have to put into the expert opinion, and that gives the reality to the data, basically.
And how many people are we talking about, for example, at EASA?
If we had the GA-CAG, that would be great, but we don't. GA-CAG was a group that is a collaboration analysis group, which we don't have anymore. And but now we have 3 experts for general aviation. Okay. And then we have also experts for sailplanes and balloons, and for any domain for them. But the other domains have CAGs. Okay. But the
GA community.
The GA community does
not have it anymore. But that is something that we would be looking at in the future and try to have.
And that actually, but not maybe in the form of CAG, but more in the relation to any direct connection with data for safety.
Yeah, the new program that has been put together by EASA.
That will look. That will be very interesting, very open, huge number of opportunities.
apparently we have 2 questions
Okay.
from John.
Actually, interesting, we have 3. There's one on the YouTube that I'll come to maybe in a minute, but there's 2 that are very closely related. So the first one is, how do we EASA collect the utilization, flying hour, etc. rates to use to create the incident and incident rates? And see, I know the answer to this. So this is why the second question also from Vendel is quite interesting, is how does the GAMA data and the EASA data correlate? And,
Oh, that's interesting.
and so if I put those 2 to you, and maybe you can answer that, and then there's one more specifically also on the YouTube about near misses, but we'll come to that in a minute.
This is actually very different. I mean,
That is true, yeah.
Those data sets are very different.
Yeah.
The data set from GAMA provides us with the exposure data we need.
Yeah.
But we are using focusing on the accident, serious incident.
So what we
So it's
provide is
completely-
more,
yeah.
we will provide the, so in one country, we'll have like a certain number of participants, which will represent a certain number of aircraft. And then we can say, oh, in this country, we'll have that many aircraft with this type of instruments, avionics inside. And then we also ask the number of flight hours.
Yeah.
We ask information about the type of flight. So are we talking about a flight A to B, or are we talking about a like a local local flight?
Sensing,
Yeah.
right,
So we will ask a lot of those questions, but also it's important that we will also give a open window to a text, so people can ask questions, can make comments, and we will read those comments. If you go on the report on generalaviation.eu, you can see those comments. So and the data that we have, we work here at EASA. It's a lot of Excel. If I can make a resume, it's a lot of Excel. It's a group of us around the table going through this Excel, and then what we have, we share it with EASA, all of it. But it's very important for everyone here to know that it's completely anonymous. So some people are sharing their email address and their name, but that's something we do not share. So the data are protected. So we only share the part with what's interesting as of data and information that we can extract from data, not names or RGPD is a big thing.
And what we use for this analysis and
Yep.
what we're doing on the flight hours, number of flights, things like that.
Yeah.
And that's aggregated data, and there's no way to trace it. And we wouldn't ever use it.
And that's the data.
Anyway.
So I guess to that question then. So
Yeah, we crossed that.
So the utilization data comes from the GAMA AOPA
Yeah.
survey, to be
Yes.
clear. And
Exactly.
then EASA effectively has the database of occurrences,
Yeah.
and those 2 pieces together is what makes up
Yeah.
the accident rate graph.
Yeah, and
Spot
so
on.
that comes with, exactly, so the more response we have to the survey and the more support we have in EASA, the more accurate data we have and
Exactly.
the more our rate of incident will be.
And maybe now's a good time, but we have a question from Thomas on the YouTube as well, asking, so what about near miss accidents and incidents? Is it possible to report as well? And would we find it interesting? Answer to that.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, we do
Yeah.
have too many accidents where actual collisions.
So the question was more about reporting of incidents.
Mhm.
Like
So
something
that's
small
what, yeah,
happened and you
so
got
something small
scared.
happens, that's what we want
Like
to
you're in your
encourage.
plane, and I mean, I am
Yeah.
going to confess in public, it happened to me. I saw a plane like pass like right there. I was flying. And let me tell you, this is a scary moment.
It is
And
very scary.
It's like something, now that we've had this conversation, this is something I will report in the future, as well as everyone watching this this video. But in the past, I did not think that that was something I should report or even talk about. It's more like a IRA Club conversation where you tell the story to someone that you talk to. But I do think Thomas's question is relevant, where yes, you should report this, even if
Absolutely.
nothing happened,
Yeah.
but your safety was at risk,
Yeah.
or you felt that you were not confident with like what was happening there.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely report
Absolutely. I had one like this.
near miss. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure every pilot has seen it.
overtaken by
Yeah, we know the
jet.
colors of a plain belly, that's for sure. But this is something that we need to work on, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
If we knew of like how often this happens, and maybe we should keep a focus on like the visibility of pilots in the sky, and what are the best ways to for each pilot to see each other. What are the, if it's an app, if it's ADSB, if it what is it, and if we had more report of that happening,
Yeah.
of the how often it happens, we could defend how important it is to be able to see each other. So
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Any other questions, John?
No, that's all the ones we've got at the moment. So if you want me to carry on.
Yep, we will.
So, and the last part, well, yeah, last answer actually to the first question.
Why?
Yeah, is to improve safety.
Yeah.
Number one, too. So, and as we focus on the serious an accident, serious incident, and the incidents, however, will becoming more and more prominent, and we will get a lot more of the incidents. I'm pretty sure of that, and that will give us a different perspective, because there was no accident, but there was risk of it. And because we now have at the European Risk Classification Scheme to risk score all occurrences, that will formally start in all EASA member states on the 1st of January next year. And EASA has already been using that risk classification scheme for a few years. And you can see that that's something we use in our portfolios. Or the aggregated risk scores to prioritize. But this also, incidents give us ideas and information on the underlying issues. So we have barriers that we score for occurrences, and we can use those as well to pull information out from the data to point us in the direction where we can mitigate, or where we can have ideas of safety promotion, whatever, to make things better.
Well, I think another thing that scares a lot of people, and I'm talking in the name of everyone who replied to the survey last year. You can see again in the report, a lot of people are very, very afraid of over regulations.
Yeah.
And this is really something that comes up a lot, is people are just tired of too many regulations. So is it also, I think it's very important to highlight the responsibility of the EASA here, where
absolutely.
Give us your report, okay, but it will not have an impact on the amount of regulation in the
absolutely
future.
not.
So I think it's very important to highlight that.
It's really a policy. After the GA roadmap was initiated, there was a mistake made in the beginning of EASA. A lot of regulation that were pumped out affected GA as well, and made things very heavy for general aviation.
Yes.
And when EASA finally started to turn the ship and change it was done through the GA roadmap. And we've done an enormous amount of work to simplify rules for general aviation. And the intention is definitely not to increase that burden. That is off limits.
It's actually the opposite.
And data helps us. Good data helps us to support any ideas that come up with the regulations. Okay, data shows us this. Fine, let's lighten the burden. Data shows us that. Okay, let's fix that rule here.
Okay. So understand better where the regulation should be and should not be also. And I think that's the point we're missing a lot in the broader public that is not in EASA's office every day, is that feeling that it's always like regulation packing on top of each other, where we don't see what is being removed from that burden. And I think it's important to say that it's not only packing, I can see the work of the filter that we do in GA as okay, this is a regulation that will improve safety, or this regulation will not improve safety and should not, it's only a burden for the pilot. I think it's the pilot or the ATO or the ATC or all of them.
Yeah, I'd like to just mention two benefits. What GA roadmap has done. It's the basic or the simplified IFR rating.
Yeah.
Rating.
Definitely.
Rating. That's brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
I encourage all private pilots to take up the study on that and finish that, because that will definitely help you if you end up in difficult weather conditions. And the second is a CS stand with the implementation of equipment and installation of equipment into airplanes.
So those are the two that
we'll pass them light. You can just
leave it. Yeah, true. The Platinum Light was very interesting. We had a lot of questions in the survey about it, and it was very interesting to know. But also, one of the things that we extracted from the survey is a lot of people were a little bit lost on, okay, how do I get the light IFR? How do I get the part ML? How do I get this? And so I think it's also we need to find a way to give the information, like, this is how you do it. And you know, sometimes it's 3 clicks on the EASA website.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. I'm just going to put this here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. Those 3 things are very interesting. So next question for you, Yngvi. If you agree to spend a little bit more time being harassed about data and more questions. So now that we know how we gather the data, we know why we're gathering those data. I am really interested to know, what do we do with those data? So now that we have the how, we have the why. So what exactly do we do with the data? We mentioned a little bit the GA roadmap, the EPAS. So
let's take you through that process.
Thank you.
So first of all, we use the data to create a European picture of the aviation safety. And this enables both EASA and the member states to address and mitigate the highest risks that we see in our portfolios. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the European risk classification scheme. So, and here at EASA, we do all accident series as a risk assessment, give them a score, and then aggregate that risk. But we do that after, so we throw them into buckets and count each bucket, and those buckets are called safety issues.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, all member states will be doing this from January next year, and the incidents we can use to monitor trends. And that's what we do. Do it because already there's a lot of incident data in the ECR, and we do what we do, especially for CT, for certification directory. We use the incident data as well for analysis on failures and problems that come up with types or whatever. So it's already useful there. We publish every year the annual safety report.
Yes.
That is
a big.
It's a big. It takes half a year to produce.
Yes.
But but it is quite interesting document and shows what the data is saying us. When we have that conclusion, we have that prioritization of safety issues. We know where we can put our resources. So it's not just safety, and that's what the economic part of running an agency is. It's where do we put our money? And the prioritization helps us do that. And in the example I mentioned earlier with the parachute operations, we've had far too many accidents during parachuting operations, and that's why our highest priority is there at the moment. But there are other like handling of technical failures. because technical failure in itself is not often very serious unless you lose a wing or something. But
It can be serious.
it can be. But losing an engine is necessarily not very dangerous if you have done your pre-flight planning.
Okay.
So handling of technical failure involves a lot of human factor issues.
Okay.
And
Do you go deeper into the data when
Yeah.
what I mean is, okay, you have an engine, so someone has an engine failure,
Yeah.
but it's a really good pilot and they
Mm.
managed to land in a beautiful field,
Yeah.
which was really flat and with no bumps, and the plane is good.
Yeah.
Do you go through like why the engine failure happened? Do you go like deeper into the data to understand the next step?
When we start looking into the engine failures themselves,
Yeah.
or engine system reliability issue,
Okay.
we will do that. But because it's lower in the priority list,
Yeah.
we're not going to do that at the moment. But for example, the picture I showed you here,
Yeah, parachute operations on
parachute
top.
operations, yeah, but on the fifth one, we see the handling of technical failure. This also is addressing three human factor issues:
Is the pilot's
Above.
reaction to a technical failure.
in-flight decision making and planning, pre-flight planning and preparation, and experience, training, and compensation. So basically, we are addressing 4 issues in one.
Yeah.
So when we've implemented the proposed actions
Okay.
for handling of technical failure, and we start monitoring that, we can then see if those 3 are going down as well.
But do you go deeper into, okay, so the human factor is because of, I don't know, it's because the pilots, majority of the pilots were very young, or were inexperienced, or were
We can definitely do that because each accident can fall into more than one bucket here.
okay. So you will have more details
More
about, like, the
Mm.
what I mean is, we know by seeing this that it's the human factor.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, I think, to understand the reason by, okay,
Absolutely.
it's because like,
Yeah.
I don't know, a pilot should have more flights with an instructor,
Yeah.
or
And it's all a matter of internal resources of how
yeah,
how much time we have basically for a lot of stuff to do. But when by prioritizing like this, the opportunity will come to really dig deep into those issues.
okay,
So that's the beauty of it. So now we have the safety issues, define them, definition, what's in them, query we design, database pulls up data, we prioritize the data, risk assessed it, and prioritized it. And then we know what the risk is. And for example, last year, we produced 2 safety issue assessments for SEO. That was the parachute operations and handling of technical failure.
okay,
And so safety issue assessments means simply we go deep into them and provide proposed actions.
okay.
So what we want to do about it.
So the same group of experts
Yeah.
that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and even a bigger part internal group
Okay,
that we try to involve. Sure.
okay, and why?
For example, the handling of technical failure took quite a lot of time and became very, very, very big. And so we decided to do a concatenation of that, squeeze it together, and make a shorter version. But we had quite a lot of external assistance with that, especially while UK was still.
Okay.
So that was really helpful.
And where can the public find those? It's kind of advices, or
Yeah,
like
well,
where can the public find that?
Yeah, we'll come to that. Safety issue assessment is not public by its own.
Okay.
The actions we propose there are 4 types of actions we propose. So there are safety promotion tasks, which are the most common ones. And then we have, as a member state task, we have research or rulemaking task.
Which is the one we talked about with the
yeah.
overregulation.
Exactly. That can be not only creating new rules, but definitely also to simplify it. And not even the rules themselves, but augment the guidance material.
Mhm.
So that can be definitely there. Now, when we have done the safety issue assessments, we need to define the priorities. And that's where the best intervention strategy comes, or BIS. And the best is intervention strategy takes these actions we've provided through the safety issue assessment and evaluates them according to safety, economical aspects, and level playing field. And then when it's done, this is published in the EPAS, the European Plan for Aviation Safety.
That's where we can find it.
That's where you can find it.
After all those acronyms.
Yeah.
That's
That's the one.
EPAS that you can find on the EASA website.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the safety risk portfolios, prioritized safety risk portfolios, also in EPAS. So the data portfolio is in the safety review, but prioritized is in the EPAS.
Yeah. Well, I must confess, I've read the EPAS multiple times because we have to understand
Yeah.
our industry, to understand the users of the industry, and it's a little bit also the accomplishment of a year of data gathering. So it's our Christmas gift.
Yeah, and now you have 3 volumes, which are all interconnected.
Well, I must confess, I will, in my situation, as I will focus on my sector.
Yeah.
I must confess.
Of course. But just looking at these huge documents, they're quite big, and there's a lot of information there. You can just see the immense amount of work that is being done here at EASA and member states.
I think we have a question.
You do. It's an interesting one actually about Annex 1 aircraft data.
Yeah.
Always a good question.
Yeah.
So the question asked, the person didn't give their name, but so we can't give them a shout out. But if I understand well, they say the event reports come from all sources of operation, including the Annex 1 events.
Yep.
Is that correct? And how are those Annex 1 safety lessons used then by EASA in different contexts as well?
I can reply for the part.
Yeah.
So the GAMA IOPA survey does include Annex 1. So you can reply, and also you'll see it was a bit of a struggle because in the survey at one point you can have to say what aircraft you were referring to for the survey, and we had to find a list of aircraft. And let me tell you, that is a struggle to find. We have a lot of aircraft on Earth. So, but yeah, it includes all of them, and even like we were trying to include as many types as possible, even those that not a lot on the planet. But yeah,
We've for the last annual safety review contained a graph, just key statistics for microlights. That was the first time we've done that. Sort of falls outside of but because we are looking at NCO and because the general aviation domain is so diverse, we found it necessary to address this or start addressing it to some extent, just to provide initial information. We did that same thing with aircraft that are not registered in Europe. So registered aircraft.
Parties.
Yeah.
Yes, we do the same. So so GAMA is responsible for the European General Aviation Survey that I mentioned in the beginning, but we also gather the data from the national administration. So every year we connect with the administration and we ask them how many aircraft, balloons, helicopters, like everything. What do they have GA wise?
Yeah.
And and we included all of them. So we have Annex 1, we have Annex 2. We even included the drones, so we could have like a number, which is not always easy to get. Some administration are amazing, some are a little bit more complicated to produce the data, but we're getting there. Every year we have a little bit more. But I hope it replied to the question.
Yeah, that's perfect. So it covered it really well.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well done, team. Carry on as you were.
We only have 10 minutes left, so let's go to the next and last question is what's next? So now that we know how we gather the data, what we do with the data, why we're gathering all those data, let's say like what's next? What are the next steps that EASA plans for all those data?
It's your answer. Data for safety.
We mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Everyone that was paying attention will know what data for safety is.
This is very interesting project. This has been going on now for several years, so in a proof of concept phase, and it's getting ready for operational phase later this year.
Okay.
Data for safety, or D4S as it's called, is a data collection and analysis program, where the goal is to ensure the highest common level of safety and environmental protection of the European system, as you can see on the slide. This is a collaborative platform between industry partners, authorities, and intended for all aviation domains. So GA will at some point, hopefully late this year, start to benefit from it. I surely hope so. The idea is for the long term, see all aviation domains. At the moment, we have some authorities participating in it, some airlines, and they are sharing their flight monitoring data.
Okay.
So pipelines from those airlines directly into those data lakes.
So it's basically improving, so not the process to get the data, but the regrouping work, the regrouping effort of those data to make it maybe easier to analyze them afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, for example, one of the data pipes that we have now to data for safety is Flight Radar 24.
Okay.
And that is that is immensely. Huh?
Everyone uses.
Yeah, exactly, and it's immensely useful tool.
Yeah.
And using their data can immensely also improve our exposure data. So we look forward to see future development on this. And then there's also another point that I want to mention that I think is also very, very important for general aviation community as a whole. And that is the simplification of electronic reporting.
So that's what you explained in the beginning of the presentation.
Yes.
Where everyone will have on YouTube a tutorial to get reported like, oh, I'm sure like in the GA season opener 2022, Yngvi explained how to do this. Yeah, it is a big improvement.
It is a big improvement. And for example, I just mentioned these navigation packages that all pilots are using to provide them with an interface with EASA or to interface with attributes that the user can fill out, or the system can fill out automatically to a large extent.
So Everse is the name of the report.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's the database behind it, basically.
Yeah.
So the taxonomy itself, or part of the taxonomy, would be included there and automatically filled by those apps and software packages. And then with one button, after writing your narrative, press a button and it goes into the system. And that is the
good
key.
Data.
Yeah. It provides much better data. We're thinking about this for all the drone software. but definitely extend this also to the GA world.
Because we do need to understand more,
Yeah.
like where are those drones and
Absolutely.
how we can that is very French, cohabit. Is that, I'm not sure that's
Yeah,
English,
that's
but
right.
like
No, I think so.
share the sky,
Yeah,
I'd
for sure,
say.
for sure.
So data will definitely help
Yeah.
understand also how we can share that sky in a very safe way. I personally trust the process.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you have anything else for the future? That's all?
That's all. For now.
Okay,
That's it.
well,
I see a question in your future.
yes.
So we're having fun. So another question we get is going back to reporting, actually. And it's interesting, this is where I guess data for safety might be an interesting development in this context. But the question is it possible to have access to the reports at EASA or the ECE's website or somewhere? Not specifically, obviously, the personal data, but the technical part of the accident and incident data or the reports in order to learn and avoid from future events.
The regulation 376 states clearly that interested parties can request their data from national authorities, their own data.
Yeah, and I think that's where
Yeah.
actually, interestingly, maybe I can answer particularly on this from the safety promotion side, is that one of the key things we've been looking at, and you know, we're certainly keen to do is, you know, we talked about it this week while you've been here, Cate, as well, and also with our colleague Vendel, who's going to be leading the decision-making session on Thursday, is that you know, if we can pick interesting occurrences and do kind of discussions like this about them, would be useful. And then, you know, also to, you know, rather than just post lots of occurrences, is to find the most important ones and do kind of lesson learned events on different things. And you'll see more and more of that coming from our side, and you know, part of these collaborations coming up anyway, I think.
And also, I think on the EASA, well, I'm not very familiar with how and where it is in the EASA website, but I know it's public. You do have the reports of what happened in which country at what date. You don't have the details of the incident or the accident, but you can see, oh, in this country on that date, that type of aircraft had this accident or incident, and this is why, or maybe not always this is why, but sometimes it's fill in. And that's a very interesting document that I'm not sure I can, well, I found it one day when I was like swimming into EASA website, so I know it's public.
Yeah. I know some authorities have also done this.
Yeah, you can find them.
For example, in UK, that is
Yeah.
something that's still do it. Monthly letter.
I remember I did it, and you have a research tool, and you
Yeah.
can choose the airfield and then see what happened in the airfield the last 10 years or so. It's pretty interesting.
Electronic solutions will continue to evolve. Just like I mentioned, the safe